Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about one of the most mysterious artists of the last 40 years. In fact, exactly 40 years ago, a gentleman by the name of Louis released an album called L'Amour. Oh, boy, was this something special. But it was a private press, and I'm going to talk about that right now. Now, if anybody out there who doesn't know what a private press is, it's basically a vanity project. You know, an artist that, presses up enough albums to, give to their friends and family. It's even more indie than indie. And Louis was such an artist. And he came out with this album called L'Amour in 1983. And of course, it didn't sell because he probably didn't have any distribution. He probably gave it to record stores and was probably hoping that this record was going to sell a lot of copies. And unfortunately, it didn't. And it languished in obscurity until the, early mid-2000, maybe 2005, 2006, 2007, when somebody stumbled across it, because private pressings now are very popular, especially like old prog releases from like the 60s and 70s. Like I said, these are, a lot of times there are bands that would press, 100 copies, 200 copies of an album and maybe sell at gigs if they were a gigging band. But more or less, because, maybe they just couldn't get the attention of an indie label or nobody wanted to financially back them. So they did it themselves. Had it about, maybe sold them to their friends, whatever. And then they just languished in obscurity for decades. And then over the years, these private pressings have gathered a lot of steam and they're worth a lot of money. Now, Louis was one of those artists, but Louis was different. In fact, even today, 40 years on, not much is known about Louis. And the album that I'm talking about, I'm going to show you right now because it was discovered and it became, people started, maybe like digitally copying it and passing it around. It became an underground legend. So Light in the Attic got smart. And what they did is they went searching for and found more information about Louis, but not enough. And they released that album. And the album is called L'Amour. Now you look at that album cover and you think like, well, what the heck is this going to sound like? Well, I'm going to tell you what it sounds like, and then I'll explain a little bit more after this. But I have my own interpretation of what this sounds like, and it's going to require some mood lighting. So here you go. Imagine, if you will, it is a dark and stormy night. Your car has broken down on a deserted road. You can see no city skyline in any direction. Yet there, on the hill, blocking the full moon, you can see the outline of a house. Perhaps your only refuge from the pouring rain. You finally reach that house. You are drenched and cold. And just as you are about to knock on the door, it creaks open slowly and reveals a candlelit living room. The only thing you can smell is must and a hint of death. It is then you hear the gentle tinkling of a piano in the distance. Ah, somebody is home, you say to yourself. Let me go find them and see if they can call you a cab or maybe an Uber. You walk down the hall and another door slowly creaks open. And there, in the center of the room, is a piano. Yet it is playing by itself. Is it a player piano or something far more sinister? And as the moonlight creeps in through the window, you see the flickering of a spectral image sitting at the piano, playing gently, rocking back and forth. And this specter raises his head and begins to sing. But you can't really hear the words. All you can hear is the hurt and the sorrow and the pain in his voice. And you listen. And instead of being scared, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I wonder if this is on CD. Yet you listen intently as the music plays and dances through the cobwebs in the room. Ooh, I like this one. This would make a good A-side, or a really strong B-side. And still, he sings that hauntingly beautiful music. And you're not frightened. You're quite titillated. Am I allowed to say that word, titillated, on YouTube? But you are enjoying it, and then after a song or two, plays more. And again, you are enchanted. You are locked into the music. You feel the music. And you realize, damn, I really need this on CD. And that is how I describe the music of Lewis. Oh, he is alive and well. At least I hope he is. Yet the music evokes hauntingly beautiful imagery in my mind. I mean, you may not feel that way, but I certainly do. And besides, telling you the story allows me to utilize my high school drama training. But I must end this story now because my flashlight is running out of juice. But that is how I describe the music of Lewis and the album L'amour. So now that you know my take on what the album sounds like, I will tell you it is quite a hauntingly beautiful album. It's very strange, very unique. Maybe the words are mumbled and sometimes, but they do sound heartfelt. It sounds like he really felt that maybe he was going to be the next, Nick Drake or Tim Buckley, but not quite. He had belief in himself. Supposedly, rumor has it that he lived out of the Beverly Hills Hilton, and he drove around in a white Mercedes, and all his furniture was white. And he had this beautiful girlfriend. In fact, all his girlfriends supposedly were models, or they look like models. There were rumors that he might have been a stockbroker or something. But Lewis, this album came out. The photographer who took the album cover ended up being a sort of a famous punk photographer, but when he took this album cover, he was paid the fee, $250 in check, and the check bounced. By that time, I think Lewis was out of town, and he took the pictures in the album with him. But, there are pictures on the inside that show outtakes from that session, and it's fascinating. It really is. They discovered something about him. His real name was Randall Wolf. And they did track him down after this album came out. And he didn't offer much information. He was still wearing white, and he sort of wished them well. He said he didn't want any money from it and then moved on. But for several years after this came out, this is all that anybody knew that he released. But they discovered another album that he had released in 1985. His hair was even better then. And he actually had the name Louis Ballou, like Baloue. And there he is, of course, with a white airplane and a white car and, dashing white suit. And this album was kind of more of the same, but it's more reliant on early synthesizer sounds. But it's still very moody. It takes you a few listens to really catch the hooks and maybe what he's singing about. It's an odd sounding record, but both of these are kind of indispensable. L'amour is a haunting and oddly, uniquely wonderful album. I think that Romantic Times is almost as good, not quite as good. And Light in the Attic have done great packages on both of these. I'm hoping that they're still in print because they are a few years old. I'm not going to talk anymore about it because I can't reveal too much because, number one, I signed an NDA. And number two, I don't know anything else because he is actually a musical man of mystery. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play you a little bit of his music, and I'll play you maybe just snippets of a couple tracks off of each album, give you an idea. But anyway, right now, why don't you sit back, relax, give this a listen, and I'll see you on the other side.
Hot luck in the rain down here. Hot luck in the rain down here. stars in the sky, like you're right. And I'd like to see you again. Pour some rain. Dance all night and forgot my love. The morning light have held each other where did my love go away on me?
Anyway, that's it. Definitely check these two releases out. They are fascinating, if anything. But you know what? I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. But remember to like, comment, share, subscribe to ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.